happy with that news. But I was home January 6th, nonetheless, and I saw that live. And being part of the Black Lives Music movement as we are, and actually being out there marching and protesting, I did notice that the officers allowed us to do a lot. So, for instance, I'll speak for the George Floyd moment that we spoke about in our episode that you had me on for previously. There's a lot of trash cans being thrown at police vehicles. The officers let us do quite a bit of lot out there before they went the route of macing us via helicopter. What I will say, though, the thing that really made me take a step back is when you see videos of the officer taking selfies with these guys in there and being handed bottled water to flush their eyes out. You know, it was an inside job. This was nothing but Donald Trump trying to seize them from counting the votes so he could stay in office. And it just highlights that the officers in play outside of that black officer, I forgot his name, the black brother that tried to stop them.
You talking about the guy that was leading the people up the stairs?
Right. Okay, because he was actually, I just watched the video on this, the hearing, when it was trying to impeach Donald Trump the second time, that he was actually doing that on purpose to get them away from the Congress and senators that was on the lower floor where they were located at. So peace to that brother. But this just highlights, once again, white supremacy. I mean, the Confederate flag, we all know what that stands for. Marching around, you won't take our president away from us. This is our America. You know, they don't think America belongs to anybody else. And this just highlights that. And this is why the officers or the police stations across America needs to be rebranded, for lack of better words. You know, there needs to be some retraining done on these officers, because you see in one of those video clips where they actually open up the gate for these guys to walk in, man. Come, these guys, how you not trying to protect America, bro? Like, what are you doing?
Okay, brilliant, succinct points. Now let's play to that, right?
Right.
The National Guard took 3 hours to get to the Capitol. You have police guiding people in, and then you saw yesterday one of Donald Trump's aides is being arrested because he participated. They have photos of him. He was on the side of the insurrectionists. So then let me ask you this. If I have to look at this objectively and just only go off of the evidence that's presented, I see the president that waits 3 hours to send the National Guard when he finds out that the Capitol was under attack. You find out that police officers and security are actually helping people. Here's the thing. If you've never been inside of the Capitol, how do you know where Nancy Pelosi's office is? Somebody that works there had to show you where her office is.
Great point.
So if
that's a great point.
This, and people thought I was crazy. I told this to people last year. I said, yo, Donald Trump only cares about Donald Trump, and he's going to seize power by any means.
Right.
This looks like a military overthrow. And then I want to kind of bring something else into question. And it's something that I said in my previous response. People were like, man, it seemed like the insurrectionists got a lot of benevolent treatment, of the girl that stole, I can't remember her name, but the girl that stole Nancy Pelosi's laptop and was going to sell it off to Russia.
To the Russians.
Yeah. The judge of her trial, of her case, was like, hey, you get to go home on house arrest and we'll put an ankle bracelet on you and you can't go anywhere. Now compare that to Khalif Browder, who was allegedly stole a backpack and was sitting in Rikers Island for like 3 years.
Yes.
Right. So look at the level of treatment here. And so I guess I want to ask you, what's the problem here? Because you pointed it out. You said, we have to reorganize these police departments. Maybe there could be more cultural training on how to interface with groups other than yourselves. But what do you think that is where, for example, you can have an insurrectionist, a terrorist, a domestic terrorist that gets fine treatment by police. If they get mace in their eyes, they get water. But then you have a guy over here who allegedly stole a backpack and he's sitting in jail for 3 years. Let's take this out a step further. You look at a brother like Samir Rice that was shot for no reason. But then you look at the guy, Dylan Roof, that went into church in South Carolina and murdered 9 people. Not only did he make it to the police station alive and unscathed, but they stopped and got him Burger King on the way there. Right. So the question I pose to you, what do you think it is that causes that grossly like unequal treatment of Black offenders versus white people? Despite the crime, one could just get pulled over and get murdered, and then the other can try to overthrow the government and you get great treatment.
Right. They protect their own. And being Black in America, you know for a fact growing up that they will always protect their own. They have the color for the protection. Going back into retraining of the officers and such, I believe that these officers need to live in their neighborhoods, amongst the people. They need to be from the community, because if you're from the community, you're going to protect the community with a different light. And it also goes back to the training and the ignorance and racism that's just been passed down. Their grandparents might have been slave owners or have some type of hatred towards people of color, and that ideology has just been passed down, and they're just carrying the torch on. So when you see Dylan Roof, who went up into a church and killed those people, you have to imagine that possibly some of those officers carry the same views that he does. They're just at work that day. And so I think we have to get to the bottom root of this. And I feel like there's a shift happening, especially after George Floyd in this country, where I'm seeing whites or Europeans, as someone like to call them, I can see them starting to really open their eyes. I'm not saying all, but I can see a shift in the next generation, the generation after us, that, they're really for equality. I think we will see change in the next 20 years. We're just going to have to continue to weed out the bad apples out of the system. But to double back into the laptop that was going to be sold to Russia by that lady, and just an ankle monitor, that goes back to us wanting to fix the system. When we talk about defunding the police and we talk about getting certain judges, out of there, this is the type of stuff we're talking about, and it needs to be highlighted as you're doing on this platform and others, because I feel like this conversation, although it happened, has been started to already been swept under the rug. And, we're more concerned with the All-Star game that's happening today.
Yeah, life is about equilibrium. So it's nothing wrong with enjoying the All-Star game, but we have really pertinent issues that affect us on a systemic level. And if we're not having conversations where we're actively trying to seek out a resolution, then it's kind of this quotidian thing of it happening over and over and over again. And, when I think about police reorganization, pardon me, that is not a COVID cough. Let me put that out there. It's not a COVID.
It's not the 19.
It's an instance cough. It's not a 420 cough either. I just got to cover all grounds. It's not a 420 cough either. But I look at it as well. This is another problem, and then we're going to move on. Too many people make money off of the incarceration of Black people.
Yes.
When you look at prosecutors, when you look at privately owned prisons, when you look at, just like simple stuff like Black people are disproportionately targeted when it comes to traffic stops, when it comes to,
purchasing a car.
Yeah,
it's been proven that they give us higher interest rate. You can have the same credit score, same annual gross income, and colored people have been given higher interest rate on purchases.
Your APR is going to be higher just off that. And so it comes to a systemic a point of we have to shift the paradigm of the system. And I think one of the ways that we do that, now this is where I'm going to be in the minority amongst a lot of my contemporaries. I actually believe in the power of the vote. I actually believe in it. I know a lot of people will say your vote doesn't matter. I know a lot of people say, I don't believe in showing up to the polls. But this is what made me change my opinion. And I'd like to get your quick opinion on this. What made me change my opinion on voting is that I work literally, my building that I work in is right beside the governor's mansion. And I'm about 20 feet away from the Virginia state capitol. And last year, when things were quote unquote normal, you would see what they would have the General Assembly every year. And what I was seeing when I was going out on my break and just talking to people, you'll see like labor unions, teachers unions. You'll see people representing undocumented immigrants. You'll see people that want to get something passed so that if your children are autistic, they can have something on their ID card to indicate that. You're seeing all of these different things, and what they're doing is that they're on the heads of these delegates and these senators and representatives. They're on their head. They're there. They're tangible. They're in the face of these different politicians. And when I was talking to them, I'm like, wow. And I thought about it. When you go back to the 60s and you look at the civil rights era, we were doing the exact same thing. And the thing, it wasn't about like, hey, we just want to, imitate, Eurocentric culture. It was like, yo, we want the same opportunities as everyone else. And that's done because we were active inside of the system. I know a lot of people want to be, you believe that the Illuminati controls the government, but meanwhile, you can't tell me who your local councilman is. You can't
talk about it.
You can't tell me like, yo, if your street lights are out, who do you go and talk to fix them? But you're telling me about some secret organization of men that can control the government and sacrifice children, but you can't tell me who your delegate is.
That's a fact.
Who is in control of the school board that your children go to every day?
What district do you live in?
Yeah, what district do you live in? But because we're apolitical and we're so against the grain, we're looking at all these groups come from different countries and they fly past us because they galvanize their political power, not just by the vote, but having an active political voice. And so what I want to ask you is, do you think that's a problem, the way a lot of us as younger Black folks, how we look at the importance of the vote?
Well, yo, all facts. I agree with everything you just said, and to piggyback off of that expression I learned back in 2014. But in all seriousness, we have to take voting serious. I've always been a voter. My dad was never a voter. I don't know if his dad voted, but I know for a fact that my dad didn't believe in voting. His ideology was, I got to pay my bills regardless. And too far often, we think that type of stuff doesn't have any importance to us, but we don't know that these votes are being cast every 2 to 4 years, and things like the sheriff in Richmond, especially in the city, so if we don't vote the right sheriff in, we don't look into his background, we don't know what he may implement on the force in our local city in terms of pulling our people over and possibly incarcerating us even more. So we need to be up on these type of things. I love that you said you can enjoy the All-Star game. You can enjoy Instagram and Clubhouse. You can enjoy TikTok, but you also need to take some time out of your day and research and actively know what's going on around you. I know for a fact, especially Dolores McQuinn out in Churchill. I've known her for years, and her son JJ. I know for a fact that being out in the community and being a person of color, you can make change a thing. And I believe that we need to be amongst each other. I do believe in America. I do believe in the system. I don't believe in the racist facets and the people who are in the system. I don't believe in them. I believe they need to get out. But I believe that the people as a whole, the people with true hearts, can get together on a common goal. And we can't make anything happen if we don't pay attention to local legislation and local bills being passed. We get mad when certain things happen and go, how did that happen? I heard somebody say the other day, for instance, the tax refund that everybody rates on in January. I noticed my taxes weren't that much, but paid no attention because they didn't vote in the Hillary versus Trump election that Trump did something with the taxes in terms of getting a higher refund. Taxes went up for most families and households averaging under 115K a year. So we need to know certain things, and make our voice heard. You talked about other races coming to America and making a change. They know that their voice matters. And because we take our voice out of the equation, the things that matter to us in our community gets overlooked time and time again because we don't make them a priority to the people in power.
Yeah, and just kind of closes out, and we're going to touch on the next topic. I agree with everything you said, and we have to start to gradually get ourselves into the midst of the political discourse, because as long as we're trying to be on the periphery, we're just going to be complainers. Right. And here's the thing: this is something cool in New York. I can't remember the name of the organization, but in New York they made it a law so undocumented residents can get a driver's license. How is this done? By organizations coming to politicians. You are on their head, because this is what we forget. Politicians are public servants, which means
1,000%.
we pay their salary. So
they work for us.
Here's the thing. I'm going to pay taxes in the country. I'm going to pay a politician's salary, but I'm not going to exercise my voice in the electoral process. So I'm just giving y'all money to do whatever you feel like and put it anywhere, but I'm going to sit back and I'm not going to exercise my voice in various electoral elections. And now the same things happen here in Virginia, where undocumented residents can now get a driver's license. I don't know if it goes into effect this year or next year, but guess why these things happen? Because these people are there. They know their senators. They know their delegates. They know who to contact. Like, for example, people can't even tell you who the lieutenant governor is.
Well, yeah, that's a fact.
Like,
most people can't.
I was in Lee's Chicken one day, and Justin Fairfax, the lieutenant, let me put it out there too, the black lieutenant governor of Virginia, walked into Lee's with his two sons. Nobody knew who he was. And I was like the only one that oh shit, that's Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. I went up, shook his hand, talked to him for a little bit. He asked me, did I want a photo? I was like, nah, I ain't, because I was crazy looking that day. But it's just the part that got me is that we're talking about all of this macro level stuff, like the Jeffrey Epstein Allen, but basic things that affect us on the day to day, basic politicians that could get real things done that benefit us. We don't know about it. But I want to switch the conversation.
Can I add on to that real quick?
Yes, sir.
Because you touched me with that. Just saying the lieutenant at least chicken. By the way, arguably one of the best chicken combos this side of the Mason-Dixie line. But one thing to echo back to my dad real quick, that he always told me was, as a community, we spend far too much time being cool and knowing what's going on Saturday through Sunday, and not enough time focusing on Monday through Thursday. And I feel that financially, as well as affecting our children's children, our legacy, we don't know enough about things of an importance. There's not enough balance with us. But you struck a chord with that lieutenant story.
Oh no, that's deep. Yo, let me ask you this, man. Oh, I should have brought something to drink since I knew you was on. See, now I'm feeling weird. What you got, the Henny? Is it a Henny Sunday? A Henny Sunday? What we doing?
No. Creative sip wine now. I've been on the wine. Creative sip wine. We don't drink things fast. Make sure you go to Iconic Brand Store and pick you up the iconic wine glass and drink with your pinky out. Okay,
sir. You have the iconic wine glass?
Wine glass. This is dropping March 16th. This is dropping, which is this Friday. You can go pick you up a wine glass. We're getting into plates. We getting into household comforters are coming soon too.
Dude.
If you go sleep, make sure you sleep iconic, so you can wake up and get to your day.
Hey, look, when we get to the end of the show, I want you to talk all your shit. I want you to talk all that, get all that shit off, bro. The fly shit. I want you to go in when we get to but for one, deep respect on that, man. But I want to talk about a little bit briefly about we were talking about like how Black people are perceived when we're talking about offenses versus, you know, their non-Black counterparts. And I think another degree of that is that, you know, we're in a culture now where people are like, hey, we need to defund the police. The police have done this, you know, we shouldn't body shame, etc., which are all beautiful things, because I'm not a fan of trying to body shame either. But then there comes a time when
there's some bodies that
I mean, look, man, I'll set for Hoyt.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I'll stick for Hoyt.
All jokes.
But the extreme of that is when you have a society where anything that's perceived as being the least bit offensive, it's like, let's end his career. Let's get rid of him. Let's cancel him. I don't want to hear what he has to say. And I have to wonder, when this is the environment that we're in, how do we balance that First Amendment right? I remember when Dave Chappelle did his special, I think it was 2019, and people lost their shit because of some of the things he was talking about.
I think he made a transgender joke in that.
Yeah, he made a transgender joke. A lot of people got upset over that. Of course, you know, Bill Burr, he made like a lot of jokes about feminists, and people got upset over that. And it made me think about comedy on a deeper level. Some of my favorite comedians, like, of course, my favorite comic ever is Dave Chappelle. That's just my guy. But then I've loved Richard Pryor. I love George Carlin. I love DL. I love Bernie Mac. You know, a lot of comedians, Chris Rock. And the comedians that I like, yeah, they're funny, but they're also providing these really insightful social critiques in their comedy, which may come off offensive. That could be a byproduct of the social critique that they're making through their jokes. And so I want to ask you as a comic, in this particular climate, how do you feel about your comedy? Do you know, are there certain measures that you take to not offend people, or do you just try to keep it organic? Where does Floyd Peace stand as a comic in this sort of climate?
Well, you know, growing up we had a lot of Red Fox in my house growing up, and Richard Pryor, and those guys didn't care. You know, and of course, they was in an era where you could say whatever you want. But it's comedy. Comedy is meant to be uncomfortable. You know, a joke, you know, is supposed to hit you a little bit, then make you laugh. There should be some truth to every joke. I've offended many people. Matter of fact, the last 25 years of my life, you know, I've probably lost friendships, family members for making jokes and them taking it a certain way, and so be it. That's comedy. And I think cancel culture and the comedic world should stop. Because when you go to a comedy club and, you know, let's say, for instance, you are transgender per se, and the comedian makes light of, you know, a transgender picking men's bathroom versus women's bathroom. This is not a joke. I'm just throwing a scenario out there. But, you know, you shouldn't take that to heart, because it's just comedy. Comedy is meant to make you laugh. It's meant to give you some truth. And the truth is ugly. Let's be real. A lot of things that we don't want to be truthful about you know, are ugly. The ugly things we don't want to look at. But that's what comedy is there. It's just to make light of things. I think people take things way too harshly. And this Me Too movement that kind of ushered in, you said this, you're canceled. Kevin Hart had something a few years ago. I forgot what he said on Twitter, but they tried to cancel him, and they pulled his offer to host the Oscars a few years ago. A joke he said on Twitter years ago. You know, we got to stop canceling comedians. I got a gig coming up soon, and it's in a predominantly white setting. So it's not like your typical chicken circuit. But in that arena, you know, I'm gonna say my truth. I'm gonna talk my truth. If that offends you, you'll get over it. But you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with a comic speaking what's on his mind freely without worried about getting canceled. I will say this though, as a business owner, and wearing two different hats in terms of products, I do kind of sit on the fence with how far I go that it may potentially affect purchases of the brand. You know, because if a group galvanizes and they feel that upset, then you know they may try to cancel your brand. But so and to answer your question directly, I do kind of cater the jokes towards the crowd, and two, you can kind of feel as a comic, your job is to fill the room, much less like a DJ. You know, if you're playing a particular song or you're hosting an event, you know, if I tell one joke and that joke doesn't hit the crowd well, then I could kind of move into something else. And you're supposed to be able to think quick on your feet and segue out of, you know, dangerous conversations that may offend many people. Because you don't want to offend people. You want to make people laugh. But creatively, that shouldn't stop you from maybe bringing something that may make some people uncomfortable. You never want to hurt people. But, you know, if it makes them a little uncomfortable and they laugh at the end, I think that's okay.
Yeah, it's that fine line, that balance that you have to walk, because you want to provide humor, but you don't want to sacrifice your integrity nor your authenticity in order to, you know, nerf the crowd and keep their emotions safe. My concern is that in addition to kind of like maybe issues about sexual orientation, in addition to issues that may involve religion, a lot of times now comedy is kind of devolving into these political echo chambers. So you'll hear certain comedians and a lot of their critiques and their jokes are against left or liberal issues, or a lot of their jokes are against right or conservative issues. And so now it goes beyond just superficial social critiques. Now you're having comedy abetting and political division, because you look at some of these big comics that I will not name, and you listen to the nature of their comedy, and you can tell, oh, this guy's conservative, or oh, this guy's liberal. And in doing that, you have to, pardon me, in doing that, to me, it's starting to kind of ruin, I feel, the art of comedy. Because I think comedy, like I said, it should be an extension of yourself, your art, your perspective. But I don't think that it should help to galvanize these political echo chambers, because there are certain comics, you listen to them and every joke is a fuck Kamala Harris or fuck Joe Biden.
Right.
You listen to another comic and every joke is a fuck Donald Trump joke. You know, now if I was a comic, that would probably be my bag. But
right.
You see that now. And that's kind of like one of the residual effects, in my opinion, of the cancel culture. You know, I said something really controversial to somebody and they didn't quite understand this. Someone was like, listen, you're pro First Amendment. Also, I'm pro Second Amendment. I believe in carrying a gun.
Sure.
But they were like, what would you say about a white person that wanted to call you the N-word? And this was my response. And I had to kind of break it down. If a white person wanted to call me the N-word, they should have the right to do so. It's up to them. Now, I don't agree with that. And then in them calling me the N-word, they have to be prepared for any ramifications that they receive on my end. But this is a free country. Now, you shouldn't go around calling people the N-word. But we have to realize, in my opinion, the pendulum of political power, it always swings. So us as, you know, I consider myself more on the liberal side, but us as liberals, when we want to like monitor and shut down people's speech, you got to remember that there are times in this country's history when we've been more left-leaning. There's times we're more right-leaning. So when it gets back to the point where we're more right-leaning, or if it gets there again, how do you tell conservatives to not police people's language if we've done the same thing? Although we believe that it's benevolent and it's for a good cause, nonetheless, we're trying to limit people's speech. Go ahead.
But you bring up a great point, because I kind of felt with the erectionists. Is it erect?
Insurrectionists. I hope they weren't erect. I hope they weren't erect when they when they stormed the Capitol, bro. I hope not.
Okay, the erectionists, when they stormed the Capitol erect. You know, no, but you know, the Black Lives Matter movement and any movement that has marched, they have a right to free speech just as well as Donald Trump calls them, the Proud Patriots, marching the streets. But they have a right to march and let their voice be heard. And I don't have a problem with them marching. I don't have a problem with flag they want to carry. The Confederate flag, to me, doesn't have that much power to me because I take the power out of it. I take the feeling out of it. You can march up down the street all you want with that. But, so that doesn't bother me. But with the comedians, I think comics have to be careful about deciding what they want to be. Because just like a rapper, and me and you have touched about being, rapping and making mixtapes and albums and such. Yeah. You have to find your sound early on, and you have to find that lane that fits you and is best suited for you. And I feel like far too much comedians chase a Bill Burr moment on stage, or they chase a Dave Chappelle moment, because those guys are one-on-ones. There's one Dave Chappelle, there's one Burr, there's one O'Neal. These guys are who they are. There's one Sinbad, in my humble opinion. I love Sinbad.
Side note, not to interject. Sinbad is one of the funniest comics, bro. Like, he's a dude that never gets his props. I just want to put that.
No, he doesn't. I want to give him his flowers now. He's a guy that I look up to in the comic world. A guy who could tell comedy for your grandma as well as yourself, as well as a child. I want to be household, in terms of telling jokes. I will say this, though. You never let anybody take your amendment away from you. I had an event with Capital One a few years back, and that was the first time I ran into that. They had opened up a cafe shop in the mall, and they sent me a transcript of jokes I couldn't tell. And I emailed them back. If I can't be free, you can't trust me not to offend people because you can be able to you can tell a Donald Trump joke with it being surface level, without, necessarily offending someone who's Republican, and make them see this was a comic moment. And so I declined the offer. It would have been a huge thing for me in terms of getting exposure with Capital One, but I turned it down for creativity reasons. You're not going to control my creativity. You have to let an artist work. You got to let a creative create. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm telling some jokes, I'm not going to throw F-bombs in a mall, and so to speak, but you got to let me work the stage. I'm really, I do a lot of freestyling on stage. So I come with an outline of jokes. And then from there, I just start talking because it's just me. At the end of the day, I'm just speaking to the people. I hope you find it funny. And we go from there. But I don't think it's right. This, and we got to be careful, like you said, about canceling people for being racist towards colored people, for having a voice, because our voice can be canceled for the same thing. That's a great point.
My follow-up question: how does comedy, considering everything we just discussed, what does comedy look like? The future of comedy look like? If we're in a society where we kind of seem to be so hypersensitive, and anything is a trigger comment, anything can get you canceled, anything could end your career. How does the genre of comedy survive going forward, in your opinion?
You gotta be Sinbad. You have to, in this particular climate, you have to be Nick Cannon. Not that he's a comedian per se, but that you have to be in the middle, right? Because you don't just want Black fans or just Hispanic fans. You want the whole. If you're trying to attack the globe, then you have to have some Kevin Hart in you, in terms of not killing certain things, and you have to fight for equality in that way that Black, whites, Asians, Hispanic, gays, transgenders can be under the same umbrella, and we all can get through this storm together. So you in this new world of comedy, the way I'm approaching it, it's just speaking from my life. These are my life experiences. This is me on the stage. I talk a lot about my wife. I talk a lot about living with a female. And that way, that allows me personally not to offend people, because even if you're gay, you can relate to being in a relationship with someone and having a pet peeve that they do.
Yeah.
And so relatability is going to be the route to go, because you don't want to step on toes per se. But here again, the Dave Chappelle's, these guys who are out here who does that so well, these guys are masterminds and geniuses in terms of how they convey a message. That last thing Chappelle just put out was a gem. It was. Did you see that the thing he just dropped on? I saw his Instagram page where he was talking about January 6th.
Yeah,
how whites ran up in that and how he tied it in the end.
Brilliant.
That it doesn't matter if you was Indian, you could feel what he was saying. If you're not that level, Chappelle, I feel you should stay away from it, and and stick to what you know. That's my personal opinion.
And just one more point to kind of piggyback off what you were saying. I want to put this out here because a lot of times when we put out clips from this episode, people can kind of get a sound bite and run with something. So I kind of want to clear up something about myself really quick. When I say that I'm pro First Amendment, let me also recognize that within us having the First Amendment right, there's a degree of responsibility that comes with that. And I think the degree of responsibility is something that we don't often convey overtly. But that degree of responsibility means that I'm going to be conscientious of the fact that words do, in fact, hurt people. Yes. So I can exercise my liberty to say what I want, but I don't have to do it at the expense of hurting someone. Now, if I happen to speak a truth, no truth barred. If I happen to speak a truth and it's supported by evidence and it just so happens to offend you, that's a different conversation. But I don't want people to think like off of what I said earlier, that I'm down with just offending people or saying anything that sounds salacious. And that's something too. I tell people, like, when you get on different platforms, don't try to go the shock jock route. Don't just try to be like, yo, I'm gonna say this wild stuff to get a reaction, because people hear you. People are listening.
No, they do.
So you have to be ready for that when it comes back. But just to kind of switch gears, man, I want to talk about this brother. I'll probably say he's like the 17th. No, he's like the 25th greatest MC of all time, Jay-Z. So what's wrong? You okay? Did my sound go out over there?
No.
I mean,
come on.
No, I'm joking, man. He's number 20. I put him at 20.
Wow.
Yeah, I was being unfair. I need to put him at 20. So I'm
Thank you for having him ahead of Busta Rhymes. I appreciate that. And Rockefeller over here in the Rock.
Okay, all jokes. Okay, before I get into this, I'm gonna just say this. My favorite MC ever is Nas. Okay.
Okay.
And this hurts my soul. If I have to be like objective, take my bias away and look at everything, and I don't want to admit this, Jay-Z is the GOAT. Like, if you have to just be objective about it, he got it, bro. He's the GOAT. I don't.
Garrett Taylor.
Oh, he disagrees? He disagrees?
Garrett Taylor.
Oh,
I'm done. Garrett Taylor.
Okay. Well, he came to the same conclusion. And it's just like,
did he really?
Yeah, because we had a conversation about this some months ago, a minute ago. You disappeared. Okay, there you go. Yeah. But you look at the business deals, when you look at the discography, like, dude, I was listening to.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
What really irritates me when we start talking GOAT talk, and I hate that business deals outside of the music decides if someone's a GOAT. I know that may not be your personal category that you need to be the GOAT. Like when people talk about GOATs, Kevin Hart gets thrown in because he's done this amount of arena. He sold out arenas for this comedy tour. So now we have to automatically throw him up here with Eddie Murphy's Raw. The music still matters. And to me, because I see a lot of that, I know we're about to jump into a segue into Jay's deals. But to me, outside of anything else, I mean, Jay owns Duce, and then he also Nas has a deal with Hennessy. So when we get into like, I just want to stick my personal thing with GOAT talk. If we're listening to just the music, rest in peace, MF Doom. If we're just listening to just the music, when you listen to an artist, you listen to his whole collection of music and base it just off the music. I think certain artists move up the line if you look at just the music in terms of like a top 10 or top 50 thing, that certain artists gain higher favor if it's based just strictly off the music. I could easily put Redman above a lot of MCs if we're just gauging.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Strictly off the music, and that's all I wanted to jump in and say.
So this is something that I've done, and I've told different people about this.
And Lupe is better than Kendrick.
I'll segue to that. But this is what I have. I have my personal favorite top 10, and then I have an objective top 10 list. So my objective top 10 list and my personal top 10 are different. And a lot of people ask me, why do you do that? Like, why do you have a personal and an objective? Because this is something I started to notice. Whenever I talk to people and they talk about what their top 10 is, it's just a bunch of people that they listen to. So then I started to see myself do the same thing. So
that's groundbreaking. Yeah, that's groundbreaking.
When I used to tell people my top 10, I thought about it one day and I'm like, damn, these are just people that I love to bump a lot. So then I said, well, how do I objectively craft a top 10 list? Like, what do I look for? If we're taking from when did hip hop start? Like what, 1977, 75, something like that?
Around about then.
Okay, so if we're talking about late 70s up until now, and then some people don't do that. Some people break it down into eras. Some people are like, yo, when I talk about my top 10, I'm talking like late 80s, early 90s. Some people talk about mid 90s to late 90s. But for me, I said, yo, I'm not going to take.
I judge my females that way. So it's like, so if I had a female that was a 300-pounder, I critique them, in their weight class.
But the issue is that I didn't want to just give off my preferences to try to say these should be who we should look at as the top 5. And I noticed that I was doing that. So for me, like, for example, in my top 10 list, objective top 10, I have to put Ice Cube there. But for my personal top 10, Ice Cube is not there because I have to look at his contribution to hip hop. What did he do to affect the game? Funny you mentioned Kendrick Lamar. People love Good Kid, Mad City. But if you want to see the great ancestor to that album, go listen to America's Most Wanted.
That's a fact.
If you want to see the early ancestor for that style of crafting an album with social commentary and storytelling, go look at Ice Cube's older work, and you see it there. So Ice Cube is in my objective top 10, but for my who I listen to a lot, he's not in there. Right. And so a lot of people don't do that. They don't break it up. And so when I hear people, they'll be like, yo, this is the top 5. And it's like, damn, these are just niggas that you listen to.
Right. That's a great point. That is a great point. And art's subjective. We could go to an art gallery and look at a picture and see two different things. Yeah. So, sometimes you break down the lyric and, some people gather the front end of the bar. Some people catch the second end of the bar. Well, I will say in terms of the new guys, I'm starting to feel like Drake is the new Jay-Z. That's my humble opinion. Drake, in my opinion, if Drake gives us a rapping album with no Sean Kingston singing, where he's just rapping, I believe he's going to deliver a classic rap. I think that's the only thing he's missing in his resume. And if he does that, he's easily top 10 in my top 10 list.
So here's where I might have the dissenting opinion with that perspective slightly. Hove came out the gate and gave us a groundbreaking album with Reasonable Doubt. You know.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you this: Reasonable Doubt.
Illmatic is better than Reasonable Doubt.
I agree with that.
I would go back and listen to Illmatic any day of the week before I listen to
I agree with that. But with Reasonable Doubt, that album had the evils on it. Dude, if you listen to the lyrics, the storytelling, the double entendres, the triple entendres on that one song, that's one of the greatest rap songs in hip-hop history is on that album. Kendrick came out the gate. So there's a lot of MCs I can name where they came in the game like kicking ass with their debut album, their sophomore effort, their junior effort, etc. You can't be 10 albums deep and then pop a classic album out there. Just for my preference, and I can kind of put you in that whole discussion. I don't.
Okay.
And plus, like you said, I want to hear an album with Drake just rapping. So I hope. What's the new one that's coming out? Certified Pretty Boy, right?
Certified Lover Boy.
Certified Lover Boy. I'm praying that this album is all rapping.
Right.
Because if it is, like you said, dude, Drake got some of the best bars out right now.
I said 1,000%.
You heard the joint that just came out with him and Rick Ross, right?
Lemon Pepper.
Dude. Yo.
What was that bar when he said, I gotta ask your occupation? Or something about what you do to become famous. Something about famous excellence. Are you famous for excellent or just famous? What you do for a living, whatever that bar was. My God.
Dude. Yeah.
My God.
Great. Dude, and I remember when Rick Ross put out Port of Miami 2, I was like, dude, Drake had the best verse in that whole album.
That's a big fact. That's a big fact.
Gold Roses. What was that shit called?
It was it is Gold Roses.
Gold
Roses. It is Gold Roses.
Drake, what he said, I'm rolling with some niggas that'll get it popping out of place like they double jointed. I was like, Dude, I was just
talk that talk.
I can see you, but let's hop into this Jay-Z deal. You know, as of recently, we found out that, Hov always coming up every few years with like these monumental deals. I'm hoping this means that an album might be on the way. I see he's growing the hair out. So,
right. Yeah.
See something
might
like
be album mode.
We got 444. So, and I know he got a lot of shit to talk about, but I saw DJ Academics. He made a critique of Jay-Z's deals, and he said, like, Jay-Z kind of posits these business ventures as being like pro-Black, but then he just ends up selling the company off to white people. Because I think now Square with Jack Dorsey, they're going to have a majority stake in Tidal. And then I know that now is going to be on the board of Square.
Right.
This is a huge venture. But when I look at the deals that Jay-Z does, to me, Jay-Z is like, he's like a guy going into a new territory, a new hemisphere of business. And Jay-Z doesn't have like a template of other Black people that have hit that level before. So dude is going through trial and error for a lot of us to look and emulate. If God blesses us to get in those positions one day, he would have gone through that fire first to see like, yo, this is how you got to move at this level. And what I want to ask, when you first heard about this deal, to me, I thought it was amazing. I love it. I love the
Tidal deal
too. Yeah. Because I'm looking at it at a deeper level. I'm not just looking at what was it, like 290 mil, 300 mil, 296 mil. I'm not just looking at that. I'm looking at the larger ramifications of such a deal. And I noticed on Twitter, a few people were like, oh, Tidal was failing and he had to do that. So I just kind of want to know your initial opinion on this particular monumental deal that Jay-Z struck with Jack Dorsey.
Well, first and foremost, salute to Jigga Jay-Z, the greatest MC of all time, Rockefeller Rock Nation. Listen, as a big, you got to throw the rocks up.
Rock, man.
Let me take the one eye out on this Sunday.
Side note, before you go in, don't you feel bad for kids now that didn't get to see the Rockefeller era firsthand?
Yeah, I do, because I have a lot of young boys who keep telling me that Drake's the greatest. I just had this conversation, a back and forth on social media the other day with a Drake stan, and he was trying to tell me that he was better than Jay. I said you would have had to been there for the Dynasty era. If you wasn't there, you don't understand it. Yeah, how could you understand when you ripped the package off your CD, you placed the album in, and you roll the windows down as Jay-Z's telling you to do so, and that beat and the production from Just Blaze, Guru on the boards comes on.
Dude,
come on, bro.
Listen, keep in mind, bro, and I want you to get into what you think about this deal, but keep in mind, Jay-Z dropped Blueprint on, he didn't be like, yo, we're gonna pull the album back. September, he dropped on the same day that the towers went down, bro.
Yeah.
And the album still did its thing.
I'm big enough to do it.
Dude, and I remember, I didn't go that day it dropped, but it was like that weekend. I remember going to the store and copping the Blueprint a few days after it came out. Like, and that's something, kids, now I just kind of was thinking about that. It's that whole era, that like 97-ish through like 2002 era.
Streets is watching.
Come on.
Listen, they were Griselda before Griselda. You know, a lot of these artists who are popular now, that stuff that they were doing had been done. Jay did that. So hopefully we wouldn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? So
please go in about what your what you thought about that deal, man.
Listen, man, I want to address DJ Academics real quick. Cause he said a lot of things.
We gotta take a 10-second break. Hold on.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, we're back.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead to address DJ Academics.
Real quick, I want to shout out the Real Machine Conway. He's been on a tear. We was talking about machines earlier. But no,
it was a classic too, man.
Yeah, real talk. I'm waiting on this last album on Shady, and then I like to see what he does next. Well, I think it's Drumline, which he got a slew of artists coming out. Shout out Griselda, Buffalo Kids. But no, who I also signed to Rock Nation in terms of management. That all roads lead back to Jay, not Mr. Wonderful, Shark Tank talk. But listen, but no, real talk. I want to address DJ Academics real quick. As a business owner, business and endeavors, your whole goal is to build a business, much like flipping a house, to build a business from ground one and sell it and recoup your money. That's the art of doing business. There's no emotional attachments here when you talk about doing business. So if you had an app and somebody wants to partner up, and Jay's still going to receive monetary funds from this, him and his team from titles. It's not like title's gone, but that is for the culture. And the fact that you do business, and this gets back to the ignorance of America, where black owned means that we only do business with blacks. That's not true. Black owned means we own stakes, to me anyway. We own stakes in a particular deal, and to do business with others, you may do business with people who don't look like you. That's fine. I love this deal. Jay sold the business. He's just much more of a billionaire than he already is. And then he takes a stakehold in Square. And if you actually read, which I'm sure Academics didn't, because he was probably drunk on Twitch again. If you I'm not chasing a moment. This is how I really feel.
Yeah,
if you actually read the actual breakdown of the deal, this was something for the culture, where they're looking in this new normal of us, entertaining ourselves from our home because concert venues and such are still closed at the moment. That they're able, Jay on Square, they'll be able to do monetary deals for artists through Square, cipher through Tidal. Listen, when Jay does something, we gotta let it play out because there's always a bigger plan. We just get the clip notes in the media and Twitter. And shout out to Twitter for bringing kind of a Patreon, shout out Joe Biden, aspect to Twitter where creators will be able to charge for tweets.
Yeah, I like that.
And I like that a lot, that they're giving it to the people. But we got to wait and see. I kind of was, not down on Jay when he did the NFL deal. You know, we had to sit back and wait to see what happened. And as you see, the NFL's looked a lot more African American in their commercials, their approach of music, which does nothing but fund money to these Black artists, because you're going to get a stream once a song becomes popular. How many people are watching these sports? Let's look at the buyers. It's always a bigger picture story. It's a much bigger picture. Back when people were buying albums, like when we talked about when Blueprint dropped, they've always said that suburban kids who were people colored, not like us, we did a lot of bootleg stuff. They were the ones who were spending money on albums and on merchandise at that time, the early 90s, the ringtone era. They were the ones who were buying stuff. So what better else to market to those people? How do you market to those people? To being in relationships with people who can get you to those people. That's business. And that's business.
And then I think we got to have, there's an idealistic way to look at the world, and there's the tangible, concrete, materialistic reality to look at the world.
I love that.
I'm very much pro-Black, as you know. But does my pro-Blackness means that I despise white people? No. Does it mean that I'm not willing to work with white people or anybody else who's not Black? Not at all. It just means that I understand, as an oppressed group of people, I see what we've gone through. I study our history and how it's relevant today. But that doesn't make me diametrically opposed to any other group. And so to piggyback off that point, I don't look at Jay like, oh, he sold his company to X amount of people or these people that aren't Black. Because like you said, you build up businesses to sell them. People do this every day. This is, it's just the magnifying glasses on Jay-Z. But if you look at, I mean, you could come here in Richmond and you can see, I've been there where people are doing business deals to be like, yo, I need partners on this, or I got this business at that point, but you can take it here. So I'll sell this business to you at this price, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
A lot of us have this idea that we have to relegate ourselves to just this one demographic. And it's not wrong to put like emphasis on a specific demographic that may look like you just because it's where you're from. But you got to realize this world is interdependent. Like,
that's right.
We are dependent upon each other. Like,
we need each other.
Yeah, I just can't go in a corner and be like, okay, well, this is white people land, or this is, Black people land. You can be proud of who you are, but still be confident enough, not even confident, but still be able to work with other people. And so these critiques like, DJ Academics did against Hov, it's like a real elementary, not well thought out critique. And it's one that I don't buy into, because he's talking like a guy that doesn't know business. And it's kind of, it sounds like a little bit of trolling as well.
He knows business. I'm quite sure he understands what I think a lot of that is clickbait, I believe, searching for a moment. He's not, he's trolling. He's not on Complex anymore. He's at Daily Struggle has ended, which shout out to Nadeska. I think it was Wayno was the host. Wayno. But that show was really over after Joe Budden left. And I don't mean any disrespect to them at all. But what Joe Budden brings a lot to a show. It is what it is. But Academics chase moments. His fake partnership with 6ix9ine, Tekashi. He's just chasing for a clickbait moment. And the problem though is, on a serious note, he's misleading people who their news may not be our news, right? So I love AM Joy, who's now is the lead anchor on CNN now at 6 o'clock. Mm-hmm. I loved her show when she was on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Some people don't get the news, so their news may be DJ Academics, and then they run with this rhetoric out here. And once again, where I have to really big up your platform is you're out here to discriminate information, and you have guests on that may not have the same views that you have on certain things, but you're getting the real information out to people. And that's what I love about this platform, that we're able to get past the noise the smoke and mirrors and really get to the meat and potatoes of things, man. So shout out to this No Truth Bared platform.
Barred, bro. I got you. Barred
What
up.
did I say?
You said bared. But no, it's all good. It's all good. But speaking of old, man, like I was really also stoked at this monogram thing, man, because this is conversations. I had this conversation with people, man, a lot about this cannabis industry. And it's good to see Hov kind of like, he's not the only one. There are a lot of Black people in that industry. It's just he has that level of superstar where it gains more notoriety because he's jumping into that pool. But you already do have Black people that are doing things in the cannabis industry. And even if it's not with, producing different strains or starting dispensaries, you have people that are fighting on the legislative side to make sure that these new laws that are going to regulate the distribution of cannabis also include, oppressed people and people that have been disenfranchised by laws that have put Black families in adverse positions. Like, guys back in the 90s, guys getting locked up for 10, 15, 20, 25 years for carrying marijuana on them. And so it's kind of like to readjust the corruption of this political system as well. But back to Hov, when I read that, I was like, yo, this is different. And I think he's going to, from what they're doing with Monogram, it almost seems like they're trying to market it as like an upscale cannabis strain, right. Kind of like a luxury strain, which is kind of, you don't really see that done a lot. But what I'm interested in is just kind of like what this is going to say for the fingerprint of Black people in the cannabis market. So if you can, man, give me your impression, man, of the Monogram thing, man, and the business he's doing in the cannabis industry.
Listen, man, drug dealers in a whole, and I dabbled. I wouldn't call myself a drug dealer per se. I tried to sell weed. I got pulled over by an officer, and I was sweating bullets. And I might have had maybe like, a dime bag on me at the time, which is nothing. I might have had a couple dime bags. I think I take that back. I had the Connect with me. The Connect was in the car. I'm not going to say his name, but the Connect was in the car. And he was going to front me a few things. And when I got pulled over, because I had a loud muffler, my muffler was real loud. You ever been real hungry and like your stomach roar?
Oh yeah,
real loud. Yeah. So I had like the muffler was real loud, and I got pulled. And that moment alone let me know that I wasn't built for Cuban links. So yeah. So I shout out Wu-Tang and Raekwon, but yeah. But the drug dealers, they should, Jay's a noted had some drug dealers in the past. That's noted and well. Really? I think it's talked about.
I read
the 96 bricks that was lost.
I read that he was an orthodontist before he became a rapper. That's what I read.
No, that was something Nas put in his Wikipedia. Jay-Z, he did what he did. And I think it's only right that drug dealers get grandfathered into this. It should not be hard for a drug dealer to make money legally if all of a sudden you live in a state where things are legalizing it, that your business be taken out of. Because say for instance, right? We're not drug dealers, but say we're drug dealers. We're in a state, legislation passed, marijuana is legal, and you can have a dispensary. And all of a sudden, our clientele is now going next to Marshall's to pick up their weed after shopping, and then they don't come hit us up no more to meet us outside of a Wawa or a Dash-In or or a Valero, to pick up their. So I love that Jay-Z is able to have a stake in this, especially when he was in that business in some capacity. And I would love to see other dealers get ushered in and have first stake in some type of business dealings without it being difficult for them, because I hate the fact that they've been locked, aside from Jay. What ignores me seriously is that for years, if you were selling, let's just stick with marijuana. If you were selling marijuana, you were labeled a gang member, a terrorist to society, a drug dealer, a lowlife. Now that the government has figured out a way to monetize off of the monograms that Jay will be selling to us, it's okay. I don't like that. So I would love to see dealers be able to get a stake in this, get a storefront without much repercussion. Shout out to Jay, though, doing another business move. You know, his hands are in everything, and we're just seeing these business moves unfold one move at a time.
Yeah, and what I'm also looking at, I want to see the expunging of records. So if you were a person where you were incarcerated and your right to vote has been revoked because now you're considered a felon because of a certain time where you committed this crime, once again, that we know was absolutely ludicrous. If you think about it, 88,000 people a year in the United States, there are 88,000 alcohol-related car accidents in the United States every single year. So many people lose a lung, develop various forms of cancer because of the carcinogens in tobacco that you inhale when you smoke. Millions of people have died from tobacco use. Yet, because Philip Morris, DuPont, Altria, they can go and lobby. They have the billions to lobby politicians. You can't stuff out tobacco like you can marijuana. And, when you look at marijuana, essentially it was outlawed because I think it was after 1910, you had an influx of immigrants coming up from Mexico. It was scaring the mainstream demographic here. And in addition to that, this cannabis that these people were smoking, and many people were smoking, this country was founded off of selling hemp, using hemp for different materials, the smoking cannabis. This didn't really become a thing until the 20th century. Even the term marijuana, it means wild weed. It has nothing to do with cannabis. And we use terms to build this stigma around this plant that actually has medicinal purposes as well.
Yes. Anxiety.
CBD oil can be used for musculoskeletal pain. There's so many different things that you can use hemp for, the cannabis plant for. And people that were disenfranchised due to systemic issues, you can look at the effects of Black communities due to white flight, redlining, being denied access to federal grants and loans to purchase homes in which they would have been able to build up equity. They were denied that. And so you have the opportunity to sell this plant and you were incarcerated. How is cannabis a level 1 drug?
Level 1 offense.
Yeah, it's an offense, but they have, I think heroin is at 2. It's the danger of the drug. So how do you put cannabis ahead of heroin as far as being a danger to a person? And so
how was Columbus a hero?
That's a different topic. But
there's a lot of questions out here.
But listen, the fact of the matter is that people, in addition to people making money, we have to fix the damage that's been done to Black communities at the hands of these laws that disproportionately affected Black families and took Black men out of Black homes because they had a little bit of marijuana on them. Think about the fact you can have maybe a certain amount of marijuana and you get caught and you're gone away for 10 years. And you might be a non-violent offender. You may not have a history of violent crime on your record or a record at all, but you're gone away. A decade of your life is taken away for selling this plant because a group of people that did not like non-white people wanted to stigmatize this plant, and all these states began to make it illegal until it got to the point it was illegal at a federal level. I want to ask you, kind of speaking to that, recently, July of last year, the state of Virginia has decriminalized marijuana. So essentially and you can add on, I don't know all the ins and outs and you can add on, but what I think it means is that I think if you have you don't get, I think if it's under half an ounce or something like that you're caught with, and once again, please, I'm still kind of murky on the details, but essentially there's no probability of prison time. You'll get fined, kind of like you got a ticket. Now Governor Northam says that by 2024, they want to fully legalize marijuana.
Yes, yes.
Now, the marijuana, I think it's the Marijuana Justice League, they put out some information that even though it's decriminalized, Black people, once again, are disproportionately targeted, taxed, given citations for possessing marijuana versus other groups. And then the danger is, if you have 2 years until full legalization, what happens to all that stuff that's murky in the middle? Like, what if you have an ounce, a half an ounce? What if you're caught with this? What if you try to it's all of these things that for 2 years, it can still put us in an adverse position. So my question to you is, one, how do you feel about the decriminalization of marijuana here in Virginia? Are you for it or against it? And two, how do you feel about the fact that Governor Northam wants to wait a full 2 years until he fully legalizes it here in the state?
Well, I didn't know that the marijuana what's it called, the Justice League? What's the full name?
It's the Marijuana Justice something. Dude. But for real, they do a lot of dope work, man. Like,
I'm glad they do a lot of great work. Why I hear Justice League, there's only one Justice League in our hearts. So I think I'm a big DC guy. So I'm happy that the Justice League is out here kicking crime for people who smoke the cannabis. To answer your first question, though, 1000%. I agree with what Northam's doing in the interim. At the current moment, just don't get caught with an ounce. Listen, it kills me. It kills me when people go, I was driving this car sitting on 24-inch rims. My system was knocking. I had tinted windows, and for some reason, I got pulled over. No, you fit what most people deem as having criminal activity. So until, in our state at least, 2024, I just heard this news the other day, where you won't get in trouble at it at all. Just have what was the ounce percentage?
I think it's like if you have like a half an ounce or more, I think it's something like that. I could be wrong. People, if you're listening, Google this.
Okay, so here's what you do. If you're the driver, you have a half an ounce, and your passenger has a half an ounce. If there's anybody in the back seat, they also have a half an ounce, and y'all got ounces. Listen, just play the rules. And this is how people in other communities have been doing this for years. They've been playing by the rules. They understand the rules. They live by the rules. I love that stocks is all of a sudden the cool thing after the AMC and GameStop fiasco. Shout out to the Reddit gang out there who made a lot of people a lot of money.
I wish I got it on that. I
was late. I was real late to the party, and they was charging people to get in. I wanted to get in free. Much less like 534. Shout out to Mansion. But
quick side note, that to interject, when you talk about getting in early, really, really quick. Because you're a little bit older than me, so you're gonna remember this. Do you remember back like in 2008, 2009, where people were on the internet like, yo, Bitcoin, and people just like, whatever. Dude, if I could go back, I would have bought like 100 Bitcoins and I would be set right now, bro. Sorry.
For life. Because
one Bitcoin right now is going for like 60,000. Like one Bitcoin.
And they're getting ready to accept Bitcoin as forms of payment. I think and please, people, Google these facts. Yeah, I believe it might be Chase Bank. But there's a few places where you can actually go buy a vehicle with Bitcoin. So we're going to see this roll out in the next few years where that is a acceptable form of payment in establishments. So that's a real thing. But listen, just work within the rules that are given until rules are further rolled out where you could do more. That's my opinion on a lot of things. Play by the rules. Listen, everything ain't fair. This life ain't a state fair. But you have to move within the moves until you can do better. So if all you can do is an ounce right now or half an ounce, whatever that is, do your half an ounce. And then when time deems necessary, you could do more. But shout out to the governor here in the DMV area for recognizing who voted him into power. Double backing to your point earlier about our vote standing for something. It has been proven that people of color lean heavily towards democratic politicians. And so our voice was made heard with Northam. We have been on his back. The Black Lives Matter movement personally has been on the mayor's back. Shout out Stoney. I just want to give a few flowers to him. He's done a lot of great work, in my humble opinion, since he's been in office. He's done some. I've met him before he even was mayor. Solid guy. I met him in Churchill helping out a gentleman who was running for a school board, who's the name anonymous, but I was a part of his early party and knocking on doors and such. He had a lot of great ideas. I met with Mayor Stoney at a logo bodega. He introduced me to him. This
bodega here, bro.
Yeah. He said, no. If it's a corner store, it's a bodega, no? Anyway.
No, I'm playing.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
But shout out to LeVar Stoney, man. One of my things, a lot of people, he caught flack during the George Floyd riots, and
from all sides. Hold on, real quick. African Americans were mad at him.
But hold on, real quick, before you go there, I just want to say this quickly about LeVar Stoney. What he went through those riots was unprecedented. He was navigating unknown territory. And to go through that and really not like this is a whole novel situation, I commend him for the effort that he put out there. Go ahead.
Listen, he's a black man first. Could you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, you could be any color, but you're black during the George Floyd movement and you're a mayor and your city is hurting. And they're marching for change. We all saw that video. And we're marching for change. And you have people who are telling you to stop the marching. But you also have people saying, how could you turn on your people? He was put in place in a position that I wouldn't want that position for the world, because he was damned if he do, damned if he don't. And let the record show from being out there in a lot of those peaceful protests that Antifa, which sounds like a artificial sweetener, were out there the ones causing a lot of the destruction and not the peaceful protesters. But here again, I hate that we're going here. I didn't want to come over here and do this today. I didn't want to do this today. But I hate that I had this debate with someone when this happened, and I said that tearing down buildings were wrong. But it seems that we've been marching peacefully, and you would know this better than I. For how many years? Peaceful. But see, go ahead, because I'm about to, you almost had me go on a tangent. I'll say this, like when you look at those civil rights marches, like for example, and this is something people don't talk about, what Dr. Martin Luther King wanted to do, in addition to the march, one of the other things he wanted to do was to have people like get on the highways, shut down transportation, stop air traffic. Like he really wanted to try to lock down the commerce of this country to show what our power is as Black people, as a demographic in this country that's been here since 1619. But then two, he wanted to show the world what the treatment was like of Black people. And Malcolm X wanted to do this before he died. He was going to go to the UN and bring the United States up on crimes against humanity for his treatment of African Americans. So when you look at those brothers and sisters back in the day that marched, it was like a march with an outcome and other pieces and facets to it. Whereas
a lot of us, we're just marching down the street with a, there's no organizers. That's the problem.
There was, and that's why I stopped.
Yeah.
If I can interject real quick, the one reason I stopped going out there in our locale, there was no organization. So the last protest I went to here in the city, one of the leaders started freestyling, and he had the air horn. He had a 16 on the top.
No,
like, bro, what are we doing out here? So when I heard him,
16, dope.
He had a bar too. I think he rhymed some with like stake 'em, make 'em, pay attention to us.
It was trash. It was trash. He just referenced to stake 'em. Get him out of here, bro. This dude is ass, man. If that nigga says stake 'em in a rhyme, bro, get him out of here, man.
Something like credit score A1, like a stake 'em, I make 'em. It was something in that, you know.
Yo, he had a bullhorn?
He was doing this on a bullhorn.
In a way, man. God.
Triple on kanjis. Don't even ask me how. Listen, that's what he said. But there's no organization. That's why I left the march early that night when I heard that 16. And I got in my car and I listened to DJ Quick on the way home. That's neither.
Hold up, man.
Yeah. DJ Quick's not in your playlist when you're driving somewhere fast?
Yo. Hold up, man. Let me get my thoughts together, bro. Hold up, man. This man said DJ Quick.
I wanted to get away fast. I had Quick on. Listen.
Yo. Dude, why are you listening to this? Like,
when I drive fast, I put Quick on. I don't know what it is. Yo.
I can't even name a DJ Quick song, son. There's no shade, but just, bro.
Oh man, you ever heard his last project? Quickies? I forgot the whole name.
The name of it. That ain't the name. I know it ain't. I know it's not the name. I know he didn't call this shit Quickies. Bro, I know that's not the name, dog. I'm not going to I need to see that in writing. I'm not going to believe that's the name of his album, bro. I'm not. I swear to God, I won't believe that. I will not believe that, man. Oh my God. Yo, but look, real quick, let me put this out there. You remember we were talking about top 10 lists earlier. Here's what we always omit in the top 10 argument. We forget regionalism. Because here's the thing, this is something, I have a homeboy that's from the West Coast, right?
Right.
And this is something he put me on to. And a girl I used to date, her best friend was from Oakland. Mm-hmm. What we got to realize is that we're East Coast guys.
Right.
You got to keep that in mind. And this is to your point. If you go to the Bay, Quick is in the top 5 out there.
Facts.
In the top 5.
Too short.
And you too short. And you might put yourself in a bad predicament if you disagree with that. Right. If you're in the Bay Area. So it's like, well, you know, I got to give Quick and all them cats their props. I might not listen to their music, but they made an impact. You know, they are up here out there, you know, it's, you know, so, but I want to kind of move on to the next topic real quick, and I'm going to let you go. I want to talk about the 9 to 5 conundrum, man. I want to talk about how many of us, we spend our waking hours, the best part of our day in these offices, in these cubicles. The money might be decent, it might be good, but ultimately there's no connection to these different things that we pursue or these things we do to pay the bills on a day-to-day basis. And I remember growing up, the way that we've been taught is that you go somewhere, you get the degree, you go somewhere and you work there. And if you're there for X amount of decades, you get to retire. And then once you retire, you get to do whatever it is that you want. But as we get older, we're seeing that this pathway to retirement isn't really real. And a lot of people that do retire has to still find ways to supplement their income once they leave the job they've been at for, 30, 25, or even 40 years. What I want to ask you, man, I call you a tangible entrepreneur, because I'm a theoretical entrepreneur. I call myself a theoretical one because I'm still working on actualizing the business I want to put out there next year. But you have tangible businesses out there. Um, how do you view the the 9 to 5, where people will say, look at your 9 to 5 as a way to finance your dreams, right? But you're
Right.
using it as a stepping stone. Um, how do you, I guess, what inspired you to want to be an entrepreneur? And if I could assume, to make that segue from the 9 to 5 life, like, and if I could also assume a little bit further, I would assume that you're a guy that does not want to work for other people for the rest of his life. So to tie it all in, what was the initial thing that made you say, you know what, I have to go for more? The 9 to 5 thing is not where I should be at for the rest of my life.
It wasn't the money. It was doing things that I really wanted to do on a day in and day basis. Watching close loved ones pass. If anybody pays attention to me, I speak a lot about my dad passing. My dad is and still is my best friend. And we spoke so much on a day-to-day basis. And just seeing him work, he retired from Philip Morris. For people not in our area, Philip Morris owned by Altria now, cigarette plant.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing back in the day for most people. You go somewhere for 30 years, you retire, and you ride into the sunset. But seeing him after retirement, still have to work in some capacity, as you just spoke of, because your retirement money doesn't supplement the lifestyle that you live, led me to want to chase something. And once he passed, at a young age, I consider 65 a young age. I don't really, to me, as we get older, we're in our mid 30s, some of us later 30s, 60 don't seem that far when you realize how time goes by. 50 right around the corner. So when he passed, it ignited something in me to really make every single day count. And then really chase things that I really like to do. I didn't think of money when deciding to do T-shirts or to co-host a show or to move into like this TV world that we're doing now. Or it's, I didn't think about money. It's always been for me personal enjoyment, because we can't take this money with us when we leave anyway. None of this stuff. I don't care if you got a platinum plaque. Damon John passes away, God forbid, in the next year, he'll be known for FUBU and other entrepreneurships, but he takes none of that stuff with him. So what we really leave on this world is our talents that is God given to us. So it wasn't a financial situation. It was really more so of doing things that God give us. I believe when we get an idea that's God given, whether we act on it or don't, is up to us, which I believe is the freedom in Christianity, if you're a believer, which I am one. And so I believe the money always comes. That sounds crazy to somebody who works 9 to 5 and says, well, I got a few ideas, I got a few God-given talents. You do need to work those jobs. Outside of everything I do, I still have 2 jobs. I have a full-time job, I have a part-time job, and I take this money to fund different startups. Till I no longer, when the startups are babies. Once these babies are up and walking off the ground, then you could fall back on the 9 to 5 situation. But it's necessary. Yeah. And also, real quick, if you have a mapped out plan, you need to go work in that field, because you can make money in the field you want. If you're a clothing designer, you could go work for American Eagle. There are jobs out here, for you to do in your field or that you desire, you're real passionate about, where you can make an income and get paid while you're doing it. Don't be an idiot while you're at work. Ask questions. Learn why they buy what they buy. If there's a vendor that comes to your job, get familiar with that vendor. Maybe one day you could be using them for a product. Ask questions, learn as much as you can while getting paid to do so. Being a boss doesn't mean you don't work for other people. Because when you are a boss or when you are a business owner, the people are your boss. Somebody's unhappy with the product. As of right now at Iconic, somebody's happy with the product. I let them keep the product, which is rarely. But people have quirks and disagreements on what they think something should be. That happens. If something's not right, keep the product. We send another one. It's the Amazon philosophy. Why is Amazon so popular and people are so happy with it? Because if something's wrong, not only do you keep the wrong item, they'll send you another one. And you don't pay for that shipping. I'm going off on a tangent.
Oh, no.
But in terms of working a 9 to 5, I think work is necessary because the immediate bills are due at the moment. Maybe you need to cater a job that will allow you to focus on your dreams and desires. You notice a lot of actors work night shifts or bartender shifts so they can actually get to reading scripts in the morning.
So are going into this gig economy. Like you have people that are picking up like their Uber drivers or they do DoorDash, they do all these different things to supplement income. And so, sorry, it's Sunday, it's beautiful. I got the window up. So we picking up everything today. It's all organic. It's real.
As we should.
But the way for me, I don't look at a 9 to 5 and being an entrepreneur as being mutually exclusive. I think you can do both. And honestly, you can pick up valuable information from both. Even if it doesn't directly correlate to your particular field that you're doing, you can pick up like how to work with people, how to understand. Like a lot of times we think about IQ, which is intelligence quotient, but then there's EQ, which is emotional quotient. It's emotional intelligence. So working around people and even being a leader in an office, you understand how to organize people to get a specific task done. Because I don't care what you're doing. Even me with this platform, when I grow it to the point that I wanted to be at, I'm going to have to hire people. I'm going to have to know how to engage people. And I know you as well with your businesses, you're going to have employees at a certain point.
To speak to that real quick, because you just brought a good point. I have a mentor, and everybody get a mentor. There's nothing wrong with having. I have a mentor who's a business owner and who's been in this field for a lot of years. I have a mentor, and I was just talking to him the other day about how do I have one employee right now, and I have another gentleman. Thank you. I have one employee right now, and I have another gentleman that I'm getting ready to bring into the fold from creative designing, because every idea you think isn't the best idea. That's and allow yourself to grow into that. To be able to give somebody tasks and allow them to finish it without micromanaging, because people are talented in other areas that you may not be in.
And when you have employees, or you have, like, I hate to use the term people under you, but to an extent, that's what it is. It allows you more free time to just be the creator, where you can develop tasks, because now you're not worried about the editing. Now you're not worried about this or that, because you have people to take care of that. And then your mind can just be on the passion and the vision of the brand. And it'll have you, time to do that. But what I will say, to kind of take it a little bit of a different direction really quick, is that outside of the 9 to 5, I think, and I'm seeing it amongst Generation Zers, I think people born after 1997, is that the path that we were taught to follow, of you go to high school, you graduate high school, you have great grades, you get into college, you come out, you get into a career, you work there for a few decades, you retire. The world, the 2021 job market, the 2021 world and global economy does not facilitate that sort of lifestyle. And so what I like that a lot of younger people are doing is that a lot of them are looking at entrepreneurship. A lot of them are getting certifications, trades, working jobs straight out of high school, building up income. Investment is popular amongst a lot of younger people in like their mid and early 20s. Whereas in our generation, we didn't necessarily have those sorts of outlets and platforms that can inform us about that. And so I said, hey, I was invited maybe like 2 years ago to speak at what is that? It's a middle school that's right off of Parham Road. It's near like it's near Regency Square. And I can't remember the name of the middle school. It's like right before you get to Regency Square. It's near the Cookout I think off of Quiocquasin.
Oh man.
I can't remember the name of the middle school, but I was there and I told the kids, I said, look, life is about freedom. That's my personal modus operandi. Life is about freedom. You don't want to be tied up in debt that you can never pay off. And what happens with a lot of college students, they're coming out of school at 24 years old with $80, $90, $120,000 of student loan debt, depending on the price of the institution. So you already started out behind the 8 ball. And when I spoke to these kids, I told them, I said, look, college can be really beneficial. But I said, if you go to college, look at it like this, because I wish I had looked at it like this in retrospect. When you go to college, it's not necessarily about how smart you are or how intelligent you are. It matters, but not so much. You're going to college to pay for the network you're going to get. That's right. College is really, if you're going to like a state university, you're going to have so many different minds, so many different skill sets, so many different entrepreneurial incubators in one spot that you have to use and your network and your resources. This is why you meet a guy that's a C student who graduated school with a 2.5 GPA, but he may have joined the Qs or the Alphas, and he has a crazy network. And this guy, 5 years out of college, has a 6-figure job in New York or DC because he took the time to build the network. You're in college for the network, not to prove what your GPA is, because nobody's going to give a damn about that when you get out.
Once you get your diploma, no one cares.
Nobody cares about your GPA. And so, I know for me, and I want to ask, what would your message be to a person that's graduating high school in 2021? But quickly, my message is, one, don't go out here to drive yourself into debt for a useless degree. And I don't mean to call certain degrees useless, but I take that back. Everything has its place, but be mindful of that. Also, like what wasn't told to me, truly, you can go on YouTube and you can find out information about wholesaling, how to have an e-commerce store, how to get into real estate, how to invest, how to start a marketing company online. There's so much information at your disposal. You don't have to throw yourself into a university and come out with 70 grand of student loan debt that you can't declare bankruptcy on. The world is a lot more open. There's so many different things you can do, certifications, trades. So I told these kids, and like I'm telling the people that's listening to this now, don't set yourself up to one linear path. Learn skills, learn how to work for yourself, learn what an LLC is, what an S Corp is, what a sole proprietorship is. Try to expand your net worth in the market, not in money terms, but in terms of skills, what you can bring to a company and what you ultimately can use to work for yourself. So to you, Floyd, if you were to talk to an 18-year-old, they're about to come out of high school, and they're thinking, should I go to this university, get this 4-year degree, or is there other options for me out here? What would your conversation be like to that 18-year-old?
Well, first of all, I'll ask if they like school. If you don't like school, college ain't for you. So if you're not into school isn't for you, then maybe looking into a trade, maybe even doing part-time at a community college. A lot of times people don't realize you could easily get on a fast track if you're talking about living this 9-to-5 life, doing your 2 years and getting an associate degree and then going into that field of occupation. You've got 2 years ahead of someone who potentially would have had a 4-year bachelor degree before they come to your company. So it depends on what they're after. Some people don't need school at all. So it really depends on the individual you're speaking to. If I was speaking to a group of people, my thing would be is to ask yourself, what do you really do? You know, my parents were heavily on school, so they forced school upon me. So, you know, I know college life, been to college and graduated in short point because that was something that was forced in my household, whether you liked it or not, that you needed an education. But, you know, for the youth out there or the 18-year-old who's like, yo, listen, you know, I want to be an architecture designer. Okay, well, then you do need some knowledge. Then you do need to go to school. But for the person who deems success as just having their own place and making money weekly, then maybe that's not for you. And on a broader point, this conversation I've been having with people, their definition of success. You decide what you consider success. Some people who come to America from a foreign land, having an apartment and a car is successful to them. Why do people go to school? To be successful, to have an income that would take care of their needs as well as their wants. You decide that. So there's a lot of creativity that you can have at 18 on the path that you want to go. Also know, like my sister who graduated from VCU, changed their major a few different times because the growth level that you have from 18 to 20 versus 20 to 22 changes upon what you thought. You might have wanted to be like my sister, a forensic examiner. But by the time she got through 2 years of school, her whole mind changed on her view of life. So allow yourself to have some time to change your mind. Who you are today won't necessarily be who you are tomorrow. I know myself personally, due to this pandemic, has rapidly changed the way I was pre this COVID-19 situation versus I am now. The core person that I am has not changed. My view setting into the future has. So allow yourself wiggle room. One of the best advice I've had from my dad's sister, my Aunt Belinda, was in this lifetime, you need to learn to be flexible. Meaning that situations or things that you think will be may not be. So you need to be able to be flexible and bring a good attitude to adjust in that setting. Allow yourself time to grow and fill out. And as my grandma always said in her 83 years of wisdom, is you will find your niche. Allow yourself to find your niche. God will guide you where you really want to be.
Very, very valid points. I definitely agree. And just to kind of piggyback on that really quick, we should stop also putting an age on success. Because when we speak to a lot of people, we put this burden upon young people that by age 23, they should have it figured out. They should know what they want to do. They should know what type of career they want to have. They should also be looking at marriage prospects at that age. And in my opinion, I don't think anybody under 30 should even think about marriage. That shouldn't be a thought for you.
At all.
You should not worry about marriage at all in your 20s. You are not ready for it. Nope. But then the other part of that is, to your point, when you look at how rapidly changing the human mind is, and I had a debate about something that I'm not going to talk about on here, but my argument in that debate is that scientists have showed us that the prefrontal cortex that's responsible for like emotions, complex thinking, all this stuff, it doesn't fully mature in us as human beings until we're like 25 years old. And this is why, if you notice, think about yourself now and then think about yourself before 25. It almost seems like two different people. Well, we mature in our mid-20s. So a lot of times, as you pointed out, and it's backed by science, when you look at yourself at 18, the stuff that you wanted to do, it doesn't even resonate with yourself as a person by the time you hit 28 years old. And if you extend it out, it definitely doesn't resonate as a person when you hit 35 years old. So we just have to have, and I agree, the flexibility. And that's why I say, when I spoke to these young people, look at the world as a labyrinth of opportunity and give yourself that time to try different things and learn different skills. Robert Greene, the writer of the 48 Laws of Power, he talks about that. He talks about when you're young, pick up as much information and knowledge and skills that you can, because you may not see it now, but those skills will congeal into something that may produce a new business idea, a new piece of art that you may not have been able to put all these pieces together when you were younger. But we've been going at this for 2 hours, man, and we're going to have to wrap this up. So I want to, what do you have coming up, my brother, man, as in business, music, comedy? Just let us all know.
Okay, so Hoyt, once again, I want to thank you for providing the platform again to allow creators to come and speak, and also give us critiques on the culture, and also give us information that we may not hear daily. I want to thank you, brother, from the bottom of my heart for having me on my favorite and best podcast, No Truths Barred.
Thank you.
And thank you, Hoyt. I sincerely mean
Yo,
that.
and let me put this out there. I love the East Coast Report. Like you have the most creative podcast, man. Like I love it. Your format is unorthodox. I don't like. I listen to your podcast. I haven't heard anybody even have that way to attack a platform. Like it's just so different and novel, and it's refreshing, man. And I just love what you do. I love the way you interview your guests, and I can't wait to see and hear more episodes, man, of the East Coast Report. And I want to apologize. I've been offline for the past 2 weeks, so I got to catch up because I know you probably done put some episodes out, man. So I got to those.
Yeah. We got 2 episodes that dropped last week. I've been working on time management as a creator. When you're creating different things, it's really easy to get fixated on one thing, and then that kind of leads something else to fall to a wayside.
Yeah.
So I've been you were my last guest of December 18th was that episode that dropped. Please, ladies and gentlemen, go listen to that.
Yeah.
And so
Thank
since
then,
as
well, man.
I want to have you back on. I'm gonna, since listeners are listening, I like to put my guests on the spot, so they have to live up to these agreements. I love to have you back on. I do them in season, so I'm in season 2.
Okay.
I've got about 5 more episodes. I like to get you towards the closeout or the finale of the East Coast Report show.
What are we looking at? Like probably like April?
We're looking at April. We're definitely looking at mid-April. We'll take like a couple weeks hiatus off, and we're going to season 3.
Yeah, man. Just so you can text me, and we can work all that out via text and stuff too, man.
I love to do something in person too. I gotta working on some things with a cameraman. So I would love to do. I've been working on this idea in terms of things coming up. On this idea of actually recording live and having like the noise downtown of like cars driving by and just having a conversation. I don't know why I'm fixated on that, but that's something I'm going to make happen. So
I want to tell you this, man. I put this video up, but I'm doing Truthfully Street. Did you see the segment I did with Yaya?
I love that. I love that segment. I love that segment.
Man, is that I'm doing some street interviews. I got a few more, and I want to have you on one of them, man.
Thank you, brother.
And the reason why I want to put that out there is because a lot of times, people can reach similar conclusions. And I want you to know that I have that out there. You saw what I did with Yaya, so I don't want to like I'm piggybacking off of something that you're doing, brother. So I don't want it to come off that way.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So, but I would love to have you on like a street segment, man. Like, because I'm going to be doing more of them as the weather warm up.
No, I would love to do like a segment where we walk up to an ice cream truck and I'm ordering like something mad random. You know what I'm saying? I'm outside getting interviewed, eating, now we can't eat glizzies on camera. No hot dogs on camera. We can't do that. But something super organic, like grabbing a meal from Mama J's and just rapping outside, eating catfish over arroz con pollo. But listen, I say that to say this: iconic clothing. I started this movement back in March. Picked up 2 guys to the team. Shout out CJ. You know what I'm saying? Creative. And we got this another cat. I'm going to unveil him very soon. He's welcome to the team. And, we just picking up steam. It's www.iconicbrandstore. I'm wearing merch now. We heading into the summer. So when you outside at these cookouts, your family festivities, make sure you grab a wine glass. This will be available March 12th, which is this upcoming Friday for sale. And we getting heavy into the merch game, the lifestyle game, drop shipping business. Iconic Brands is coming in the spring. I'm going to unveil that more very soon. But it's going to be a retail establishment where you could buy from people who look like you, and you can save money doing so. Comedy-wise, the East Coast Report show is you'll see that on the timeline if you follow me at The East Coast. It's _East Coast on Instagram. Twitter, you can follow Iconic Brands to stay up to date with the movements. I will be out and about if things open up a little bit more as they are. Be doing more dates in the city. I do have an upcoming engagement this Friday. I'll be doing some stand-up comedy.
Whoa, brother Floyd, you disappeared. Oh man, okay. All right. Let me see if I can get him back. He just disappeared on me. Okay. All right, listen, I'm gonna tell you, follow Floyd Peace, follow at Iconic Clothing LLC on Instagram. Make sure you follow the East Coast Report on Instagram. Make sure you follow his podcast on Spotify. I don't know what other streaming services, but check any streaming service for the East Coast Report. Dude, follow his brand. He's doing a lot of great stuff. Definitely follow Floyd. And also, we're going to close this out. I'm Hoy Kaweku Timmons. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at _No Truths Bar Podcast, at Hoy HOYT _Kaweku, KWAKU _Timmons. That's TIMMONS. And also, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. Much love, take care, and peace.